Hello, hello, it's Julie Davison from juliedavison.com. Welcome to Julie's Stamping Spot here on YouTube. Over the course of 2021, I have shared 145 videos. Oh my gosh, there's so many favorites. And through the end of December, I'll be sharing a project playback, a favorite project from over the last year, which is going to be a new weekly series in 2022. I can't wait to rehash and look back at some of these projects. Now, some of the things I'll be sharing are using products that are no longer available, but I hope these project ideas will inspire you to use what you have at home, or if you want to go shopping for some brand new stuff, you can do that at juliedavison.com/shop. I recently surpassed 2 million views here on YouTube, and I can't wait to see what the new year is going to bring. Our goal before the end of the year is to reach 20,000 subscribers, and it's crazy to think that only half of the people watching these videos have subscribed. So please, if you enjoy Julie's Stamping Spot videos, please like, subscribe, and share our channel with your friends. I can't wait to share even more in the new year, but until then, I hope you enjoy these project playbacks. Thanks so much for watching. I have a really fun technique to share with you today. You may not have the corner bouquet stamp set, but you can use any big bold stamps that you have in your collection. Let me show you how. We are gonna do a technique that I always say I'm not a messy stamper, and this is definitely a messy technique. So this is one that it's not so much a Julie technique, although we're going to keep it pretty simple after we do the technique. And we're going to get messy, so we need some scrap paper. We're going to do an emboss resist. You guys know about embossing? We've done that before. We use the heat tool and embossing powder to create a raised image. I was just showing my daughter how to do this last night with the gold embossing powder. It's really pretty with metallic colors because they sort of like come to life and get all shiny and cool. So we're going to do this technique with clear today and do an emboss resist. So when you use embossing powder and you heat it, it becomes like a raised shiny image. So then we're going to add ink, and the ink will resist where we have embossed. So that's why we call it an emboss resist. And this is sort of a take on the Joseph's coat technique. Have you guys heard of that technique? Joseph's coat is where you apply ink to a piece of cardstock, like in a rainbow fashion, like Joseph's coat. So lots of different colors, and then you emboss, and then you put a dark color over it, and you take the embossing off, and it shows you the color underneath. I have a really awesome card that my sister made me, and I should have grabbed that so I could show you. But that's okay. Maybe I'll find it and show you tomorrow. So this technique, instead of applying color onto paper ourselves, I'm going to sort of skip that step and use a piece of designer paper. So the paper I'm using is a pattern from the Fine Art Floral. And the Fine Art Floral has these gorgeous oil painted flowers. And then the other side, you have these really pretty like brush strokes. That one would be so pretty for this technique. Ooh, 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 ooh. I might change and pick a different pattern. So this is the one that I had cut, but now, well, I'm going to go with the one I have cut, but this would be a really pretty pattern too, because you'd have the different colors that come through. So I've cut this down to 3 3/4 inches by 5. And we're going to stamp in Versamark and use the clear embossing powder to heat it. So I like to use Embossing Buddy when I emboss, and that just helps to get rid of all the oil and the extra stuff from your fingers from attracting the embossing powder, because the embossing powder is really, really fine and it's going to stick to this ink. But if there are other things on the paper, like oil from your skin, that could have the embossing powder stick to that as well, and you could have embossing powder where you don't want it. I'm using the Versamark ink pad for this. This is a watermark ink pad. It stays wet a little bit longer than our classic dye ink. And so I'm going to stamp that, and you won't be able to see it because it's just a watermark ink, but it stays wet long enough for our powder. So we're going to put the powder on, and then we're going to funnel this back into the jar. So 1 jar of embossing powder is going to last you a really long time. And now you can kind of see it Just give it a little flick. You can kind of see in the light where the powder is sticking to the designer paper. So I'm going to cap this up. We're going to use our heat tool. There's 2 settings here, and I don't think it matters which setting you put it on. I'm going to put it on 2, and you're just going to heat until that powder melts. Have you guys done this technique before? Have you done heat embossing? You can kind of see it starting to get darker as the powder is heated. So you're just going to keep heating until all of the powder has been melted. Okay, after it's all melted, you don't need to go any farther than that. You don't need to keep going. It's not going to bubble just until it looks like it's all melted and wet. Okay, so the next part of our technique for the Emboss Resist is now to apply some ink. So I've got one of our new blending brushes. These are actually now unorderable because they were so popular they ran out. So you're gonna have to just add this to your wish list and order it later if you don't have it already. The blending brushes are 153611 and they come with 3 brushes. And so you can use a sponge or a sponge dauber as well. And so I'm just going to now apply some ink, and you can see the design starting to pop. Now, I could keep doing this, but I want to cover a really large paper. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to take my ink pad and I'm just going to go, direct to the paper. So I'm going to just try to cover it evenly and try really hard not to get my hands messy. So however you want to apply the ink, whether it's the blending brushes or sponges or direct, I'm trying to get rid of any of the lines. Okay, now I'm going to take the blending brush or a sponge or a tissue or something like that, and I'm going to go over and remove the ink from the embossed image. So because it is sort of raised and shiny, it's going to resist the classic ink, which is a water-based dye ink. So I'm just brushing the ink away from the image, and you see that pop. Holy smokes, isn't that gorgeous? So this paper, if you remember, had like some different colors and the brush strokes. And so you get some of that. You get the pattern and you get some of the different colors in there. So I just love the way that turned out. And again, you can do this technique by applying color to the cardstock first. You don't have to use designer paper. Designer paper just sort of skips that step. So that is the Emboss Resist technique. It resists the ink, resists the embossed image. Okay, let's move our paper out of the way, and we are going to finish up our card. So I have, I was really struggling with what colors are in here because it's like different shades of colors, right? Like I think this is terracotta tile, but as it gets lighter, it looks like Rococo Rose. So I decided to pair it with Rococo Rose. And I have some pieces that I've pre-stamped here. So this layer, like I said, this was 3 3/4 inches by 5, and I'm going to put this onto a piece of white cardstock that is 4 5 1/4. So that's just like a regular card front layer. And because we embossed it and it makes it a little curly. So I'm really heavy with the adhesive around the edges so that I can make sure that it stays down and lays flat on my card. Okay, this is going to go on the card front. And then on the inside, I have the same size white. This is 4 by 5 1/4, and you can see I stamped some inside words, and then the corner bouquet has a smaller corner, so I stamped that in the corner inside. I've been making an effort to try to stamp the inside of my card, so I really wanted that to match. And so then now up here, we're going to add the outside sentiment. So I'm going to use the basic gray ink again for the words, and I'm using my favorite Happy Thoughts. This is in the January through June mini catalog. And I keep saying this over and over again, but it covers all the bases. You got thinking of you, happy birthday, thank you, congratulations, and then some really great inside sentiments. So I'm going to use the happy birthday, and I'm stamping on a piece of cardstock that is 1 inch. I think like 1 by 3. It was a scrap, so I'm not sure. But 1 inch is the width. And then I'm going to use the tailored tag punch. And when I was designing this card, I went with the go-to like banner, right? Because we always, that's like the easy thing is always to make a banner. But I'm going to use this the other way and feed it through the center. I showed this the other day in a video, but I didn't actually use it on a card. So I'm going to feed it through the center and create a pointy tip. And I'm going to do that on both ends. So this is sort of like, I don't know, the opposite of a banner. I mean, it's still a banner, I feel like, but it's just, it doesn't have that like flag tip. Okay, and then that's going to go across here. I feel like I want to just make that a little bit smaller. Let's come back in here. There it is. Just eyeballing it. Okay, so then this is going to go in the center of, I punched out a Label Me Lovely because I love the way that just adds like a pop of color behind your sentiment. So that was really easy to do it that way. So then I'm going to just put this on with some Stampin' Dimensionals. 1, 2, 3. You could add some ribbon back here if you want to. You could add some rhinestones. I really just want the beautiful Emboss Resist to kind of be the star. So I'm not going to add any additional embellishments. But I do have a this or that because I made this card vertical. But when I made it earlier, I did one horizontal, and I can't decide which way I like it better. So you tell me, do you like it better vertical or do you prefer the horizontal? So this one I made up about 2 hours ago, and you can see as the ink dried, it soaked into the paper and got a little bit lighter. So this is going to do the same thing. It will get a little bit lighter as it continues to dry. But I love that you can see some of the color in the pattern like peeking through even from the basic gray. I think that just looks really cool, the way that like kind of pops out. Okay, that's it for today. I'm so glad that you were able to join me for this project Playback. If you like this video, make sure to give me a thumbs up, like, comment, and share. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel. See you next time with another Project Playback.